Welcome back. You're watching Chartbusters, and the stock on our radar right now is Sanghi Industries. We have with us Mr. Sanghi, who's in a very rare interview, rare and exclusive interview with Alok Sanghi, who's the whole-time director of the company. Joins us now. Thanks a lot, Alok, for joining in for this rare interview. First up, we'd like to know what exactly has been the implementation of GST. We understand that the cement companies will have to pay 28% versus 31%. And secondly, what does FY18 hold in store for you? FY17 was slightly dull. Are the prices in Western India higher by about 10%?
Yeah, so thank you, Nigel. First and foremost, let me reiterate that GST is one of the biggest indirect tax reforms in our country. And there is bound to be some amount of commotion and transition issues which will happen as people transition towards GST. Having said that, as a company, we haven't faced any major challenges. Most of our dealers, our customers, vendors have transitioned towards GST, and the transition has been very, very smooth. There, of course, has been a saving as far as the company is concerned. Before GST, the cement companies attracted 31% of total tax, which has come down to 28%. Obviously, the 3% benefit has been passed on to the market, and this should spur some amount of new demand generation. Besides this, there is also some amount of saving on input credits which were earlier not available, which will be available to the company. Overall, I think GST in the long run will be very, very positive for the cement sector and economy in general. It will cut out all inefficiencies from the system, and it will be boosting demand. As far as FY18 is concerned, the first 2 months, the April and May months, were very, very solid in terms of demand growth. However, just before GST, most of the channel partners as well as customers have opted to reduce their inventories before they transition towards GST. So because of that, there was a slowdown in demand only for a particular month of June. I feel this is only transition in nature, and demand will pick up with good monsoons as well as increased tax revenue from better tax collection by the government. And so I think FY18 is looking very, very positive for cement sector. Speaking specifically for Gujarat, if you look at Gujarat, we are entering elections in December, and therefore there is uptick in demand every time there is elections, and so we feel that Gujarat is likely to grow northwards of about 6 to 7% compared to last year, where it grew by about only 1% or 1.5%.
All right. Thanks so much, Alok, for joining in. Nigel on this side. That was my colleague Mangalam who just asked the first question. But you have given us a fair outlook on how this year looks. So that's pretty good news. But could you help us out with a few numbers, Alok? Last year you did around 2.5 million tons in terms of sales. If demand's going to be growing, this year can we see 2.8 million tons in terms of sales? What are the numbers we are looking at? If you could help us out on that front. And also in terms of pricing, are cement prices in West India at 2-year highs? I think prices are up by around 10% on a sequential basis. Are we getting those numbers right?
Yeah, so last year we actually did 2.9 million tons of total sales. This, if you compare to the industry demand growth, which I said was about 1%, our company grew by about 8%. So we outgrew by the industry by a significant margin. We expect similar result even in this year. So assuming the demand grows by about 5% or 6% in Gujarat or Western India, our company is likely to grow in double digits, is what my expectations is likely to be. As far as prices are concerned, you are absolutely right. FY17 was dull in terms of pricing. We had a flattish year in price movement. In Q4 specifically, after demonetization, the prices in Gujarat specifically collapsed significantly, and it came down to all-time low prices. Q1 prices have been significantly better, and we have seen an improvement of about 15 to 18% from Q4 numbers in FY18 first quarter.
Right. So double-digit volume growth is what you are expecting given the industry grows at 5 to 6%, Alok. In that regard, what exactly is the capacity outlook for the company? What can we expect in terms of FY20? What should Sanghi Industries capacity look like?
Right. So as you may be aware, about 2 or 3 years ago, our company went on a major expansion spree. Our company had a capacity of about 2.6 million ton. which we decided to take it up to 8.2 million ton. The entire expansion was divided in two phases. The phase 1 expansion included increasing the capacity by 1.5 million ton, adding 2 sea terminals, adding 2 ships to the fleet, and having a 13 megawatt waste heat recovery project. All these projects put together are by and large complete, and I'm happy to report that we'll start seeing the benefits of it by end of this year. Going forward, our company has decided to double the capacity from 4.1 million to 8.2 million tons. This expansion program is likely to be achieved before FY20, and we are looking to do or we are raising funds at the moment for this expansion project.
All right, Alok, what kind of, what is the total capex if we're going to be going from 4.1 to 8.2 million tons? I think the street is working with around 1,000 crores. Out of that 1,000 crores, if that number is right, how much of it will be debt funding? And also, Alok, there's a rumor in the market that maybe there could be a QIP on the cards. If you could clarify that.
Yeah, so the expansion is going to cost about 1,250 crores. It will be funded 800 crores by debt and 400 crores by equity. As you can see, our balance sheet is quite strong, and we are willing to fund the entire expansion, the equity portion of it, through internal accruals, and we are confident that we can do this.
No external fundraising is what you would say, Alok?
Not as of this moment.
Not as of this moment. Going forward, do you have any plans, any sort of, in case required, what's the maximum amount you would be looking to raise from outside? What would the ceiling be?
So, like I said, our balance sheet, our balance sheet is quite strong. We have the bandwidth to do the entire equity funding through internal accruals.
Okay. And
as of this moment, there are no plans to raise funds from outside.
All right. So 800 crores via debt, 400 crores via internal accruals. That's the number we're going with in terms of 1,200 crores. Finally, Alok, before we let you go, you rarely speak to media. So I need to ask you this question. The street is saying maybe a Sanghi Industries could do what Shree Cement did in North India. The stock is up closer around 100% in this fiscal itself. Will Sanghi Industries continue focusing just on West India? And will you just go on, expanding capacity at your unit, or can we look at some inorganic growth as well?
So we have very healthy respect for our major competitors, including Shree. I think they have done a wonderful job over the last decade in how they have grown their company. Having said that, if you notice, our company has some unique advantages to remain in the same location. We have very large limestone belt. The markets that we serve, which are Gujarat, Maharashtra, and coastal markets of Cochin, are extremely profitable markets, and we have a unique advantage to be positioned in this market. We want to remain a regionally dominant player, and therefore the focus right now is to execute the expansion program and take the capacity to 8.2 million ton. Our focus as of now is likely to remain in Western India, and at least for next few years, I don't think we are likely to venture anywhere outside this region.
Right, Alok. Thanks a lot for joining in and giving us all the details, and thank you especially for coming in on this rare chat. And he spoke a lot, right? I mean, in terms of the cement volumes going forward.
Absolutely.
Also the denial of the possibility of a QIP, at least at this moment, was important, right?
Absolutely. Mangala, we've been tracking the sector for the last 6 to around 7 years approximately. And the company was around, around 2.5, 2.6 million tons. It's at around 4.1 million tons. The big question that the street has is it's going to be focusing on West India. Remember, just around 7-8 months ago, everyone was so cautious on West India.
Right.
Now, in fact, we have prices at multi-year highs, and let's see whether or not that can translate into numbers. Limestone reserves are there. So, from them going from around 4.1 million tons to around 8.2 million tons at a capex of only around 1,200 crores, that's encouraging. Let's see whether or not that happens. If you put the numbers together at around 8.2 million tons approximately, the stock will be trading at roughly around $70 per ton on an EV basis. So let's see how things go from here, but encouraging commentary coming in from there.
Absolutely, and also encouraging is in this year is the election year, which he believes that could prop demand going forward. With that, we'll slip into a short break, come back, and another stock from the building product